So I was recently in a match with the zeez, the micro celebrity of Identity V, and I wanted to take the time to review the match footage and share my thoughts and how I was playing the match through my perspective. Give a second perspective, but it ended up on the Cowboy video he just uploaded, the Ever Sleeping Nightmare match, and I happen to be that nightmare. So yeah, uh, so we're in the match now. If you haven't watched the video, it's Toy Merchant, Forward, Cowboy, and Antiquarian. Um, so my thought process here is quickly trying to find my first target. I run over here knowing there's a spawn point here. I don't know it's an Antiquarian yet. The moment I see it's an Antiquarian, I say fuck that and get the hell out of there, and I see Z's. And while Cowboy is definitely a threatening person to go against, uh, I I don't really have much better options. So I kind of settle on Cowboy here. So I go for the dash there. He lassos over me. He probably should have either gone for that alleyway and got some distance, but he ended up giving me a free hit there. Um, Overall, that first lasso was kind of bad, but the second one's pretty good though. He's able to make it to that pallet all the way over here, which gives him that little speed boost, of course. And I'm forced to break the pallet. So he said later down the line, that does he know the nightmare trick? And yes, I do, but unfortunately, I get stuck. And that small delay is enough to give him that distance, and he didn't get a hit there. And I was very disappointed, very, very disappointed. Forward gets a stun there, so I'm delayed even further. So I keep going. He's running to graveyard. I'm thinking of ways to get this chase done earlier because this is horrible pressure for an early game. So I get my stock and I realize I still have my warp up. Go ahead and use my warp. He does not react fast enough, and I get that down. Cipher progress is decent. That forward is late on a cipher, but the toy merchant's about to finish hers. I think Auntie's also about to finish hers. So we're at first chair at three ciphers, which is not a good look. Not a good look. But that's okay. That's okay. She puts on her catapult and she does a pretty common like little leap there. I'm not really surprised. It's a little annoying. I try and go for a little swing there. You could see the vision. Unfortunately, I missed, but I get the hit anyway. So Cowboy goes in and he just keeps throwing every pallet. Like he throws pallet after pallet, and he complained. He was like, "I hope I hate how he just keeps throwing pallets." But unfortunately, Nightmare doesn't have much of a choice. Um, I will say though, Z's, if you do end up ever watching this, I heavily respect you putting in matches you lost, because some people would try and hide those. I think it's very, very nice that you put in matches that you lost, to show that you're not perfect, and I think that's very admirable, incredibly admirable. Unfortunately, we got a fly with there and a forward stun instantly after. I could have probably gotten the hit there, but unfortunately, not much I could have done. And I do get greedy here. I won't lie. So it was fine to pick up here, but I shouldn't have gone for this chair. This chair was incredibly dangerous to be on. And that's exactly why. So I'm getting absolutely beat the shit out of by this antiquarian, and I'm a little sad. A little sad. I try and go for that. Go for a little mind games. Unfortunately, doesn't work. Happens. And he loosing around again, throws yet another pallet. Like I said, just keeps throwing pallets. I just keep breaking them. Nightmare's pallet break is fast enough to kind of get away with it. Um, but he ends up doing a pretty good lasso there. But now he's out of lasso. He's got no ability left. I get confused due to footsteps. I shouldn't have gotten confused there, but I did. Um, and I start trying to think of other ways of pressuring them. So I'm throwing ravens at random ciphers to hopefully catch one of them, giving them that 10% debuff. And I get that hit there in Antiquarian. I'm actually not too upset about that. Getting some extra pressure will be helpful for late game. And I do know where Toy Merchant is now, and I keep that in mind, keep that in my head. And I finally do that. Real quick, big mistake on Zeez's part there. So Nightmare cannot. So the little wheelbarrow right behind me, Nightmare cannot dash around that if you go for that window from that wall, and Nightmare cannot dash like directly from the wall to the window if that because of that wheelbarrow. So if Zeez just went for that window, he would have been perfectly fine. But I don't think he knew that. Um, but overall, he's not playing badly. I don't think anyone here was outright playing badly. I think Forb may be harassing a little too much. This Antiquarian's getting a little greedy. Uh, but overall, no one's really playing outright badly. We're still at two ciphers, but unfortunately, Z's going down there was a huge turning point. Huge turning point. I was able to get a lot more pressure here. So Z's also asked how I didn't hit the chair in this next part. Miss a swing there, flywheel there, and then turn my camera the third time. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised too. We had the same exact reaction. I'm going to be so for real. I have no idea how I didn't hit that. And unfortunately, Ford kind of not really farms, but unfortunately I had Berserker, good perk, and I was able to get that down pretty quickly. I love Berserker, by the way. Gotta always mention that. This Antiquarian immediately hits me off of my teleport, which is a pretty reasonable move. She goes over towards the window, and unfortunately, I'm just kind of staring at her. You can't dash, but she gets kind of greedy there. She should have vaulted that window so much earlier, and she ends up getting hit just before she's able to get into trim, which is a very big shame. Um, but overall, she was doing well. Like, her hitting me off of teleport was a good move, but unfortunately, she wasn't able to utilize it to the best of her abilities. Now, I'm trying to figure out where all of them are. This is kind of a turning point. I know I have pretty much the win in the bag by this point. The forward's injured. I get a free catapult too. Why not? Forward's injured. Toy Merchant only has one catapult left. Overall, my pressure is looking very good, and whenever I see that he's healing, I'm like, okay, either they're together or he has a syringe. I end up being right about the syringe. I see that she's decoding over there, and I'm still kind of just observing the area. I can kind of get away with just camping this out. She goes over half, which is huge. And now we're at one cipher left. I think they're in graveyard. Like, I thought they were in graveyard, but I was wrong. I see forward right there. Honestly, a misplay of mine was not checking graveyard way earlier. I really should have. I should have made sure that they weren't there. But Antiquarian gets completely out of the match. I know where that forward is, and I know where that toy merchant is because I saw the cipher shaking. I miss my warp, by the way. That happens all the time. I suck. I'm garbage. And I get the double dash. She puts down her catapult, gets the free leap. I realize that I put a Raven there. I don't realize he's there yet. I am then shocked whenever he voluntarily picks up the Raven later, and I go, man, this Antiquarian's kind of far away. And this is not looking too good. Like, for example, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with that anymore. So we go after forward. Honestly, that was probably a really good decision. All the pallets in Graveyard have previously been destroyed and used, so Graveyard's a pretty big death trap right now. Nightmare can curve around a lot of these obstacles, so it's pretty nice, pretty good. And she goes all the way up there. I do a little bit of tomfuckery with my stalking there, if you didn't notice, and then they just surrender on me. I think they realized the writing on the wall and they gave up. So yeah. Overall, that match was pretty fun. Everyone was playing overall pretty well. My Raven management wasn't the best, honestly. Not the craziest thing. I got stuck earlier whenever I was trying to get that drop down hit on Z's, which is unfortunate. But overall, it was a very good round. Z's, whenever he was able to land his lassos, all of them were very, very good. And unfortunately, I just happened to get a lot of pressure, and sometimes that just happens. I think the biggest mistake of the survivors part has to be the fact that both Antiquarian and Ford were getting kind of greedy there. All four teammates were at graveyard whenever I downed Z's for that second time, and that's usually not the best idea. But overall, very good match. GG's.